What's up, y'all? Welcome back. Welcome back. Today, I'm here with 4 book reviews. Let's get it.
Favorite reader, that's who you are. Traveling near, traveling far. Through every chapter, you're the star. Favorite reader, that's who you are.
Okay, y'all, we got book mail. The first one is from a bookshop.org order. So excited. This was purchased from my wish list. Okay, let's see. When I get the email that something on my wish list was purchased, I don't look at the book. Yes, When Trees Testify, Science, Wisdom, History, and America's Black Botanical Legacy by Beronda L. Montgomery. I am so excited. Like, there's no note. I don't know who sent it. If y'all want me to know, comment and let me know. Only one person has commented it and let me know. And I'm okay if you don't want me to know. But if you do want me to know, comment so I can thank you. I am so excited. So excited. We, meaning my household, are gardeners. Our entire backyard is a garden. And over the past, I don't know how many years, like just really been into it. And I'm just so excited to read this. The histories of trees in America are also the histories of Black Americans. Pecan trees were domesticated by an enslaved African named Antoine. The only reason we don't have a pecan tree is because it's way too big for our backyard. But if we could, I would. Sycamore trees are both havens and signposts for people trying to escape enslavement. Okay, Beronda L. Montgomery is a biologist. Cool. I am very excited. She shows trees are material witnesses to the lives of enslaved Africans and their descendants. It's blurred by Monty Perry. I'm just so excited. I am so excited to get into this. Thank you. Okay. That's the first book. The next one, this was sent by a publisher. They reached out to me and asked me that I have interest in reviewing one of their books. So I looked at it and I'm like, ooh, this is right up my alley. Okay. This is from the Pan-African Publishing House. Okay, they're actually in Texas. That's cool. They didn't have far to ship. Okay, let's see. Ooh, I got a book and a goodie. Okay, the book. Sorry, a little dust on it from the packaging. American Presidential Parties, Their Relevance to the People of African Descent by C. Nicole. Very interested in this. And a nice little bookmark. Okay. Nice. Okay. This book was intended to be a research paper for Pan-African think tank. It was over 45 presidents. I'm excited. Very, very excited. I don't think I've read books that are kind of like this, like in general, but to literally break down each section and shows what these presidents did for Black people or what their influence was. I haven't read anything that distinctly and only focused on that, so I'm excited. Okay, and then like I said, outside of the bookmark, it does have a goodie in here. Love this. Wombly. Organic cotton surface pad with wings. Liners wing free. No chlorine, dyes, fragrance, or pesticides. Okay, I love this. Very thoughtful and nice. I love this packaging. This is something I actually have a preteen in mind, and I'm going to get this to her. So cool. So glad. Okay. That's it for this, y'all. I'm so grateful. I just love getting book mail. I do. And I do. Let me see if I can get it. I just love getting book mail. My camera been like not wanting to focus on these books. Okay. Yes, love it. I can't get over this cover. And then, like, again, I'm so interested because I've read books, again, that kind of talked about it a little bit, but not solely. Very excited to read both of these. If you are interested in hearing my reviews, they will be on the channel at some point, so stick around. Okay, y'all, back to the video. Okay, without further ado, let's just jump into it. If you don't know, I have a book club with my two sons. It's just us three. We take turns rotating who picks the book. And this book was picked by my eldest son. That is The Journey of Little Charlie by Christopher Paul Curtis. We've read a few of his books already. This was my first time actually reading this. Out of every other Christopher Paul Curtis book we've read, I had already read it, so it was a reread for me. But this was my first time reading it. We really enjoyed it. I love the conversation around this book. One thing I want to make known though, sometimes we read the book separately and then we just come back to discuss, but there are times where we will read the book together. So either taking turns reading out loud, reading a chapter at a time, coming back to talk about it. This is one of those books that I wanted to read with him. Once I started, I got like 1 or 2 chapters in. I already knew it was one of those books where we would probably be discussing it as we went along because it is, I mean, he's not that little, but I still wanted to make sure that the floor was open for him to be able to ask questions. Charlie is a poor white boy that lives in South Carolina, and there's conversation around slaves and around certain cruelties to slaves that I wanted to make sure I was able to answer some questions for my son. And he basically, when the story starts out, him and his family experience a huge tragedy. He's 11 or 12 at this time, so don't really know how to handle it. But what happens is he has to grow up quickly and kind of be the fill-in for his dad. He's going with this overseer to go get what he think is something that these ex-slaves stole, but really they stole themselves because they ran away to freedom. And you get to see Charlie, this 12-year-old white kid, encounter some stuff along the way, and he becomes, he has choices to make, okay? He's a part of the problem at times, and you get to see like how this fleshes out. Well, if you can't see, there's another kid on the page. His name is Sylvanus, and he is his parents were slaves, so you get to see the juxtaposition between these two and why that's significant. So very good book. This was a great discussion book for our book club. I just feel like it was so much to talk about. I like to hear my son's perspective. My oldest son, my youngest son was, I told you, he kind of in and out. But I like to hear his perspective and what he thought of the books and the characters and the situation that Sylvanus was in and Charlie and their parents. I wanted to see if he kind of picked up what I picked up as far as like the parents in the situation and the role of education in this. So very good book. Very, very good book. Okay, next, I'm actually going in the order that I read these. So the next one is Praise Song for the Widow by Paul Marshall. This book was a part of my May TBR, and it immediately grabbed my attention just with the synopsis, okay? So scanning the back, I could see that this was about a woman who was in her 60s who was recently widowed, went on a cruise with 2 of her friends and decided that she was getting off at the next port. I didn't know why just reading the synopsis, but I did find out while reading it. So this book is broken up into 4 different parts. You get to see, the book starts off with the main character, Avie, on the cruise ship with her 2 friends. And then you kind of get to see a flashback to when she was a young wife and when her husband was alive and her children were young and she was pregnant with one of them. Then you get to see her go back to when she's on the island, got off the cruise ship and is on the island. She's in Grenada. And then it ends with kind of just like this spiritual awakening. And it's just, the main character, Avie, experienced a life-changing journey and experience. And this book had so many things in it for me to latch on to while I was reading. First of all, her friends, like the main character's friends, when she first told them I'm getting off this cruise ship, they reacted in a way that I feel like was super realistic. Like, I wouldn't say I would react that way, but I could see people in my life reacting in that way. And I just thought the dialogue was good, like the tension was good, the difference between how the two friends reacted. I think that was interesting and good. And then who the main character was, I feel like was super fleshed out. You got to see what was bothering her on this cruise ship, why she decided to make this decision, and what came of it. Like, a lot of this book, you got to see the main character, Avie, wrestle with this tension and apprehension. And she was nervous and unsure because what was she doing? Like, that just kept going through her head. Like, what am I actually doing? I feel out of place. Like, it's a lot going on. What would, like, I'm thinking about my kids. I'm thinking about my husband and my past. And she keeps thinking about her aunt or her great aunt from her childhood and just what their family's heritage and lineage looks like. And it's just it was such a good book. This book, it was just, it talked about so much. Just the section that talked about her marriage and how your marriage shifts over time and how you're not the same person that you were when you first got married. A lot of you is the same. Like, you do probably have the same core, but so much about you has shifted. Life has changed you. Circumstances changed you. You have evolved and grown in several ways. Like, in some parts you are better, but other parts, are they? It's time for some reflection. So when she's talking about her husband and who he was when they first got married and who he is now that he's strived and tried his best to reach these heights, I found myself thinking about that deeply, thinking about that a lot, because I can be the type, and I try my best. I do try to like stay plugged in, but I can be the type that can like latch on to always doing something. Like, if I have free time, I'm like, what can I fill it with? Her husband was working 2 and 3 jobs. He was going to school. He was doing this all night, all day, striving to do something because he wanted what he thought was like giving this better opportunity to his family. And I feel like in a lot of ways, like, I could be that way. Not like her husband, but I'm like, oh, I don't do anything for this hour of the day. I need to fill it with something. That's not the best route all the time. And I do think it has its place. Like, that trait has helped me in a lot of parts of my life, but there is a negative side of it. And so I feel like it was good to kind of see that explored, especially on her family, on his wife, his kids. And when he did get them the life that he wanted them to have, like, he set them up, because he put in that hard work, that equity. But, is the grass always greener when you finally reach that? That made me think about, like, when they first got married, they struggling, they trying to get a leg up. And you think, oh, if I could just get, in this case, if I could just get a brownstone and have a place for my kids to be and spread out in a backyard and this and that, things would be so much better. But then you forget about the blessings in the little circumstance you are right now. Like, you forget about the joy that comes from a smaller place and a humble beginning and, more time to do XYZ and your kids thinking this about you. Like, it's a lot in that poverty state that, yes, you want to get out of it because you're thinking like, okay, I need to provide and do the best. But then you think back and you like, dang, like, for example, like, I need to give my kids their own room. I need to do this. I need to do that. And then when you get that, you think back finally like, wow, when they were all in the same room, they were closer. Like, yes, I wanted them to not have it, but now I'm thinking about the downside of that. Like, now we want to spread out. Now people going in their room and closing their doors. They talk less. So you kind of get to see both sides of that. That's not what her thing was, but that's what I was thinking about. Also, this book is spiritual in a lot of ways. Avie experiences a spiritual awakening of sorts, and you get to see how it was yes, it was spiritual, but it was very much physical too. Like this was a spiritual battle and a spiritual awakening, and she felt it in her body. And it made me think again about a book that I have talking just about how much the body carries trauma and your memories. And that's a lot of what Avie was experiencing in this book. And I just thought it was just written so well. So well. I also thought about I don't want to be grandma here, but she was a widow and she really had to think about what the next phase of her life was gonna look like. What would that mean for her as a friend, as a woman, as a mom, where she wanted to take root and settle down. Does she still want the same stuff she wanted when she was married, and dealing with all of that. So yeah. Great book about grieving things that are past, even when you have something better. Great book about spirituality. Great book about connecting with your roots. Because in this book, when she got off the cruise ship and she was in Grenada, she felt the connection to her history, her family's heritage. And that was beautifully put in here. So this is a good book. Very, very good. Yeah. Next. The next book I read, this was a reread. And let me tell you why I reread it before I showed you. I have been finding myself recommending this book in my real life to people. When I'm meeting people, I found and they say something, I find myself referencing this book. So I was like, I haven't read this book since 2020. Let me pull it off the shelf and make sure I'm telling these people right. I think I am, but let me see if there's something else I can bring up to them. Let me see if I'm saying what I actually mean, because it has been 6 years. And that was The Fourth Turning, What the Cycles of History Tell Us About America's Next Rendezvous with Destiny by William Strauss and Neil Howe. The main premise of this book, as you can tell by the title, is that history goes through cycles. And in this book, it breaks it down into 4 turnings. So specifically, you have the first turning, which is a high. It's an upbeat era of strengthening institutions and weakening individualism when a new civic order implants an old value regime decays. Then you have the second turning, which is an awakening. It's a passionate era of spiritual upheaval when the civic order comes under attack from a new values regime. Then you have the third turning, which is an unraveling. It's a downcast era of the strengthening individualism and weakening of institutions when the old civic order decays and the new value regime implants. And then you have the fourth turning, which is a crisis. It's a decisive era of secular upheaval when the value regimes propels a replacement of the old civic orders with the new one. This book talks about a whole lot. It's pretty dense. I'm not going to lie. It's a dense book. But it talks about what society looks like in each of these cycles. What that 100-year turn kind of looks like. It talks about the people being born in these cycles and what the different archetypes are. Like if you're born in an awakening versus a crisis, what that looks like. And the archetypes, let me see. Pretty sure that they spell them out. Yeah, you have the prophet generation who's born during the high. A nomad generation is born during awakening. A hero generation is born during the unraveling. And an artist generation is born during a crisis. And this is very general. It's not like this is like a super hard science, but this is, it raises some good points, okay? It raises some good points of why we learn history in the first place and its importance, why that matters today, no matter what generation you are, what that means for the future. History, and I've always heard that history doesn't necessarily repeat itself, but it does coordinate. It looks a whole lot alike. And this book highlights that with the people being born, with the government and the infrastructure, economics during the time. It talks about what society shifts take place. And it's a thought-provoking book. It's a book, again, I find myself constantly referring because it just has so much food for thought. You might not agree with every single thing in here, but it is interesting to think about how things do happen in these cycles and what that looks like. So Dense. It is dense. I'm not gonna lie. It's like a little textbook, but it's still good. Okay, and the last book for today. Ooh. Don't get me wrong. Let me be clear. I do like Praise Song for the Widow. But this book right here, this is my favorite book of this stack, hands down. It was so good. That's Family by J. California Cooper. My copy beat up. Don't ask. But this was so good. This was so good. This is one of those books that, let me see, was that page one? Wait, it wasn't even page one. This is one of the books, when I read the dedication, I knew it's a high likelihood I like this. When I read the dedication, I knew. Then I got to page one. Yeah. It starts off with history. Lived, not written. It's such a thing not to understand always, but to marvel over. Time is so forever that life has many instances where you can say, once upon a time, thousands of times in one life. This is so good. This book, I know I gotta talk about it, but I'm like, where do I start? This book, the main character who is like she's the main character and the narrator. Well, I don't even know if I'd say she's the main character. Let's just say this. You have the narrator who is telling this story from her first person point of view. And she is a slave at the time when the book opens, dealing with everything that women who are enslaved have to deal with. Her children being taken and sold, hate, evil, all the stuff. Okay, she dealing with everything that anybody in her situation would be dealing with. And you get to see her endure over and over. And then there's a shift that happens where she's almost transcendent. And she's telling a story from her perspective, but about her children. So you get to learn about her like the children that she knows for sure. The ones that didn't get sold off. And you get to see I don't even know what I could say without like giving away. I don't even know what to say without like totally giving away. There ain't even a synopsis on here. So I don't know like what's too far, but just know you get to see her children, her daughter, her son, her grandkids, like where her lineage spreads. You get to see how she feels for her children. You get to see, this also makes you think. When people say like, oh, if that was me, if I was living back then, I would do XYZ. That's really hard to say. And I find like maybe you would have, but chances are you're saying that from somebody who is living now in this century at this time with your mindset and the amount you're saying it now. This book brought into like light that maybe you wouldn't have. You might have thought you would have. And also, how far will a mother go to protect her kid? And also, can you even be like, this made me think, because I talked to somebody briefly about this in my DMs, and she mainly said that one of the characters in here who was enslaved at the time, she said she was unethical. And it made me think about like what that looks like, an unethical slave. I got what she was saying, but I feel like that's a deeper, more layered conversation. But it's definitely something that comes up in this book. It comes up what freedom looks like. What's the meaning of it? What family looks like in the context of freedom and oppression, and like when people they're so resourceful despite everything around you, like trying to hold you down. And you get to see some of these characters in this book like have small victories, and it was just so satisfying, some of those parts. Some of this is heartbreaking. Some of it, like, you go through all the emotions: heartbreak, joy, empathy, anger, like everything. You're gonna go through all of it in this. This was so good. And it's not like, it is over 200 pages, but the words are huge. And it's like, the words are huge. So I feel like, yes, it's over 200, but it's actually pretty short. Like, it reads faster than that because the words are pretty big. But yeah, this is a good book. I really enjoyed this. I really did. This is one of those books that I was flying through, not because of any other reason, but I was just like all over it. I like the dialogue. I like the dialect. I like the way the story was told. I like the general theme and idea of the book. I like the perspective the book was told from. This is a good book, y'all. Definitely my favorite one out of this stack for sure. But that's it for today. I have these 4 books. All of them were good. I recommend and would recommend these all for different reasons for sure. But yeah, that's it. If you read any of these, let me know. If you want to read any, let me know. If any of them sound interesting to you, let me know. That's it, y'all. I'm going to see you on the next one.
Pages turning soft as silk, stories flowing like warm milk. A journey starts with every line, worlds unfolding in your mind. Bookmarks falling where dreams collide. Every cover's got a tale inside. Favorite read.